Hi everyone. So actually, let me just remove that while we do the little intro. So yeah, welcome to August's Masterclass, which is all about the power of language with the lovely Krupa, who is joining us from Bali. So thank you so much. She's going to be going over recognizing and changing your negative self-talk, reframing the limiting beliefs that hold you back, the language of the body and how to embody confidence and affirmations. So really finding higher words for your higher self. And I'll let her introduce herself, but I met Krupa through Sophie French on her mastermind weekend, and she taught us yoga, and she is amazing at yoga and words and coaching. So I'm very excited to have her here today. So I'll hand over to you.
Thank you, Jo. So yeah, as Jo said, I'm a yoga teacher. I am currently in Bali, so I'm an NLP practitioner as well. So I mostly work with women, but obviously I'm open to work with men as well. But yeah, so the work I really do is about mostly embodying confidence, so with the body and through coaching. And yeah, that's what I do. But today we're going to be talking about the power of language. So did you want me to get right into it, Jo?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got quite a lot of stuff, and I was just worrying that we might not cover everything, but I'll try and do as much as I can. So we'll start with recognizing and changing your negative self-talk. So I think this is something that we all must probably experience. So language is so powerful. It's a way that it's a way of expressing our inner world, our experiences. So you might notice, like, when people are talking, you often get an insight of what's going on in their lives just by how they're talking. So that's why it's really important for you to choose how you talk to yourself. What words do you use, and where does that negative self-talk come from? Often it's so quick and we don't even recognize it. We're doing it so autopilot. Normal stuff we might say about ourselves, always mostly negative, and noticing when they actually come up is interesting. So if you're going around your normal routine day, sometimes they're not likely to pop up, but depending on how you're feeling emotionally and how you're feeling in your body, and that is when they come up. Or often I find is when you're about to do something new or something a bit scary or something out of your comfort zone, instantly that voice will be like, you can't do this, you don't know enough, you're not smart enough, or you're not able to do this, or just a way of bringing yourself down, really. And you're the only person that's doing it. No one's really told you that. It's you that's telling yourself. So what I'd like to start with is noticing when that negative talk sort of comes up and what comes up. So we're probably going to start with a little meditation, although it won't be a meditation as such, but it's feeling into yourself. So often to actually find out where things come from is just getting into state. So that means slowing yourself down, feeling and noticing what your brain's doing, noticing when it comes up and when is your mind, or when is that talk coming up and what is it actually saying. So even though it might be on autopilot, you might feel like, oh, that's not a negative self-talk. Let's just feel into it and see what comes up. Okay, so we're going to start by crossing our legs, or sit comfortably wherever you are. And let's just start to close the eyes. You can place one hand on your tummy, one hand on your heart. And the idea here is to kind of connect to the mind. So normally we say we want to drop out of the mind, but here you want to observe what your mind is doing. Okay, so I'm just going to guide you through something, and I want you to notice what negative self-talk comes up. It might be one thing, it might be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but let's just see what comes up. So just relax the shoulders here, and we're just going to start by taking a few deep breaths in and out. Taking deep breaths in, so creating as much space as possible in the body, allowing as much oxygen to come in as possible. And then on the exhale, just feel the chest soften, the ribs move down. You might even be able to pull your navel in slightly. So the idea here is to get rid of any stale air, any stale energy in your body. Again, taking a really deep breath in. Let's take the breath all the way up through to the crown of the head. And just staying with this deep breath, I just want you to imagine a scenario. So a scenario that makes your head and your body feel a bit icky. So it's something that you're not totally comfortable with. Maybe a scenario, maybe a difficult situation or a new situation where someone or something is being asked of you. And you know it's going to put you outside of your comfort zone. You know it might make you feel a little bit sick. But I want you to notice what comes up. So in terms of thinking about whether you can do this, can you do that task? Can you do that thing that's being asked of you? Can you go out of your comfort zone? And I just want you to notice and be really clear on that situation. So notice what it is that's going to stop you. Again, like I said, it might be one train of thought, it might be 2 or 3. Bless you, Emma. And just notice what self-talk comes up. And if you can hear that, guys, that's a gecko. So just ignore that and just stay with that thought that comes up. And it might be one that comes up quite regularly. It might be your one thing that you tell yourself that stops yourself from doing certain things. Take a deep breath in and out. Final deep breath in and exhale completely. Okay, let's come back to the room. Now, I might need you to both talk to me, but I'm interested to see what came up. So it might be one that comes up all the time. So what negative self-talk came up?
Shall I go? The negative things that came up were I don't have enough time, I'm not good enough, it might not be good enough quality, what happens if something, I make breaks, and just all those kind of like, where you can quite easily escalate to like,
Yeah.
like the worst case scenario.
Yeah, and notice how it starts with 1, right? And then it just goes off and off, and then you start finding loads of things that's wrong with you, and it's always bad, right? It's hence negative self-talk, but it's also ways of your brain keeping you safe. Like, if you don't do this, Emma, you'll be safer if you don't do it. So these are all the evidence that I've got, brain, to tell you why you can't do it. So although it's trying to keep you safe, it's the train of thought that keeps going over and over. What about you, Jo?
Yeah, mine was just about like showing up and selling. So when I do it, it's fine, but I'm also like, you're not going to make any sales, no one's going to sign up, like what's the point, like, oh, you can't really sell, so, like, just yeah.
Now yeah, and see how it's always I'm not good enough. It comes back to that. So it's I'm not good enough because I might not do this, I don't know enough, I don't have enough time, you create all of this, right? So but when you bring it down to I'm not good enough, and you actually ask yourself, the conscious self asks yourself, is that really true? Is that a fact? Is that a fact that I am not good enough, right? And same like you said, Emma, I don't have enough time. Is that really, really a fact? you do not have 24 hours in a day, you know, and it's what limiting decision and belief that we choose to believe, and we sort of pin it as fact. There's no way I can do that because that's a fact. But if we look further, and that's what brings me on to the next thing, negative self-talk is always, or 90% of the time, your limiting beliefs. They are what stops you from getting there. So in terms of limiting beliefs, let's say I got you to think about a scenario. So let's say, I don't know, Joe, what was your scenario?
This selling workshop.
Selling. Okay, so that's something that is your work. That's your bread and butter. That is what you do day in, day out. Yet this belief comes up all the time, right? So this limiting beliefs is what stops you from getting to your outcome. Your goal outcome is selling, and that's your goal. So this limiting belief, this one limiting belief, I'm not good enough, is what stops you. So the idea and the way we can work around this is reframing that negative belief, that limiting decision that you made. Now, we can go into this further, but I'm just going to touch on where it usually comes from. Now, you don't have to tell me where it comes from, because we'll go quite far back, but usually that I am not enough comes from, most probably, is a young age. Something happened somewhere that made you create that decision in your head that I'm not good enough. And then see, throughout your adult life, you'll use that, you'll pick that decision in everything that you do. So what I'd like you to do is maybe think about that limiting belief. So I'm going to get you to go into state again. We're going to close the eyes again. Now I'm going to talk you through something, and it means that you have to try and go far back. So I want you to take yourself back to that time where you know the scenario, you know that one time when, I don't know, you were 6 or 7, you really felt like you weren't good enough, or something happened there that felt like you weren't good enough. Now, again, you don't have to tell me, but I'll guide you through it. And we're going to notice what comes up and what the situation was. And then I'm going to show you how we can reframe that. So if Joe, yours was, I'm not good enough. Emma, would you say yours is that?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's always the baseline, right? Because it's, I don't have enough time. What if I break it? What if I fuck it up? It's always comes back to, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not good enough to actually do this task or do this work. So we're going to go into state again. So we're going to think back to that time. Okay. So go easy on yourself. And don't worry if anything comes up, just sit with it. You're safe. You're in a good space right now. So all we're doing is, and remember, you're adult Joe and you're adult Emma now. Okay. You're empowered. You're not that child anymore, but let's see if we can go back. So again, let's start to close the eyes. And we're going to float back, but stay with your breath here, because your breath will be your anchor. So taking really deep, full, deep breaths in. In and out. So we're talking about the limiting belief of, I am not good enough. That is a decision that you made. And I want you to think about where and when you made that decision to form that belief. So I wonder where you were. I wonder how old you were. Taking yourself back. And I want you to notice the decision that you made. It may not be, I am not good enough, but notice what decision and belief you created in that moment. And really notice everything around you. Noticing what emotion it brought up in you. And really breathe into that emotion. And then just thinking about the concept of, in that moment, you could have decided anything. You could have decided anything else, but I am not good enough. Now, if you had the power now to change that decision and make a new one instead, changing that belief and reframing it so you create a new experience, you create a positive experience. And then just breathing in to that new decision that you're making. And now remember that you're an adult. You're a grown-up that can gift that young Joe, that young Emma with this new decision, a new belief. And really breathe into that. And as that younger you accepts that new empowering belief, just notice what can change and impact that would have on you growing up if you went with that belief. And almost just fast forward yourself through all the years, picking a few experiences that you could have had differently had you had this new belief, this empowering belief. And right up to the age that you're now, really breathe in and out. And almost like you're embodying that belief. Feeling it in the heart. Feeling it in the muscles. Taking a few last deep breaths in and out. And then let's slowly come back to the room. How did that feel?
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah. So it is interesting, and that is a really cool technique that you can do with yourself sometimes. Now, in a coaching environment with my clients, I'd go a lot deeper, and there is a lot around it, but that's a really good way to actually drop in and just ask yourself, when did that come from? And does that really apply to me now? I'm a business owner. I sell daily. That's my job. Does it really apply to me? And once you start to notice where it comes from, you start to question about whether it's fact. And another good way of actually dealing with limiting beliefs, another technique which works pretty well for me, and as soon as I notice, in the beginning, when you notice the negative self-talk, more than one might have come up. So let's say, Emma, for yours is, I don't have enough time, or, what if I break it, or what if I don't create something that's right? So another good way is listing all your negative limiting beliefs. So on one side, I would list all the negative limiting beliefs, and what I would do then is notice where that came from originally. So let's say mine came from, I'm not smart enough. Mine came from one day at school, I didn't feel smart enough. But now if I use that limiting belief, so I'm not smart enough is my limiting beliefs, but what I'm doing is challenging that that old limiting belief, and actually asking myself, all right, Krupa, is that true? Are you really not smart enough? So what evidence do you have that you're not smart enough? And then I would actually ask myself, okay, is that really true? Okay, is it smart? Are you not smart enough? And give me evidence of where you have been smart enough. So my recent evidence compared to being younger is I have valid, factual new evidence now that I am smart enough. If I wasn't smart, I wouldn't have been able to be an NLP coach. If I wasn't smart enough, I wouldn't be able to work at HSBC. If I wasn't smart enough, I wouldn't be able to get to Bali, organize myself and get here. So I'm now creating new evidence and showing myself, and this is a really good way to show yourself on paper, especially next to the old limiting belief, is actually I have all of this evidence that shows me that I am smart enough. And that is a good technique that you can do when it arises. So if you're about to do something new, or you're just about to launch a new product, or you're about to sell, and it makes you feel sick, it makes you feel icky, and you actually list the limiting beliefs, right? So whatever your limiting beliefs are, and maybe you can do this now. If you've got time, you can just write your limiting belief and see if you can come up with new evidence. And a good way to do that, and what I would use, and in your guys' sort of field of what you do, you can use your previous past experiences with selling. If you really couldn't sell, how were you able to do this? And actually list all the great things that you have actually done that challenges that belief. And then again, the question is that belief fact or not? Because we only want to work with facts. Your brain and your body only wants facts. And that's how you need to kind of view this. I'm not listening to that belief unless it is 100% factual. So in essence, what you're doing is questioning the integrity of your limiting beliefs. Okay, because that's what you're doing, because you're not going to take it on board if you haven't got a million reasons. And now, yeah, see if you can list. And it's interesting to see what actually comes up. And even in your daily life, you know, if you weren't good enough, would you be able to run a membership? Would you be able to, I don't know, fall in love? Would you be able to run a house? You know, it's even simple things like that.
So interesting. Sort of like it's something that like it came up for me. Won't go into sort of details, but something that came up for me that I really sort of started like acknowledging, confronting in 2020. and like just the change I've seen now is like big. I think it's still there, but like it's interesting, and just even writing things down here, I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah, because you start to rack up evidence in your backpack, right? You're like, actually, when you sit down and think about it, like, it's amazing that how that belief is so not true, because you would not be functioning, right? You wouldn't be creating, you wouldn't be out there in the world living life if that was really true, right? As simple as it sounds is, yeah, once you bring it down to the basics, you really think, is that really true? I get to choose whether that limiting belief is going to be the narrative of my life. You know, how long am I going to carry that for, and keep and allowing it to drag me back to probably when I was 6 or 7, right? But I get to choose now that that's not going to be my narrative. And doesn't mean it's not going to come up. It comes up in the most scariest situations, but that's growth. So as you start to grow, of course they're going to come up, and then again, that is when you challenge it, and because you've already got a stack, because you wouldn't have a stack of evidence if you weren't at that point of growth. Does that make sense? Because the more you're growing, the more you're going to feel icky feelings, because that's growth. That's you're expansive, right? So that limiting belief will keep challenging you, but it's up to you to embody and just be like, actually, hang on a second, I know that's not right because I've done this. And a great way that works is just taking the time and sitting with yourself, you know, and unless you do that, that loop will keep going over and over and over. And that's where meditation comes into place. That's where even just sitting with yourself, and what I call getting into state is connecting with the self. And it doesn't mean you have to be transcending. It can mean, okay, I'm checking in with myself and asking my true self, what is it that I choose to believe? And you start to separate your mind from yourself. And that's where you sort of become the observer. You know, you get to choose. And that's a great feeling because it gives you back control. So you don't run away with the train of thoughts.
Nice.
Yeah. Did you have loads of examples then of why you are enough, Jo?
Yeah, it was just because the things in the meditation was like, I am wrong, I am bad, and then the more better relief was like, I am open. And then I was just sort of like, and I think just sometimes it's like being sort of like kinder to yourself, and it's just like maybe, you know, like whatever it was, you know, it's okay, it's not bad, it's all of these types of things as well.
And yeah, like you said, it's being kind to yourself and giving yourself a break. Are you really gonna beat your adult self up about what happened when you were 7? You know?
Yeah.
And that's what it's about. It's like being kinder to yourself. And you know, everyone says that saying, like, you wouldn't speak to your friends how you do yourself, right? And that, I know it might sound cliche, but it's so true. You just wouldn't, would you? Like, and I think about that in relationship advice. You know, when you're giving your girlfriend's relationship advice, it's often advice we don't take ourselves, right? And it's learning to be like, okay, I am my own cheerleader. I have to navigate what's going on within my brain, within my body, and I get to choose. And I think that's where the empowering comes in as well, because you're empowering yourself. And it doesn't mean all of these thoughts and feelings, and even in a, you know, that sick feeling of doing something, that's gonna be there, that's a body reaction, but you get to choose how you navigate through it, which I think is the most important thing. Once you give yourself that power back, you're able to decipher and decode what your brain is doing.
Yeah, like they get to choose, so you have control. I think that's really key.
Yes, that's a good one. So the other bit the other 2 bits I wanted to talk about, I think I'm going to talk about affirmations first, and then we'll talk about body language. So affirmations. So the flip side of limiting beliefs are affirmations. So how you might have had new evidence, they can also be transformed into affirmations. So the affirmation is the positive way that you're looking at something, and affirmations work because you're changing the old beliefs that you thought were facts and giving yourself new facts. So you want to give yourself new facts. Now, how do you do that, and how do you create an affirmation? I create affirmations based on what my higher self wants and is. So, Joe, remember when we were in Cornwall, I was saying I had my affirmations, and often I'd feel a bit lost. So I created 3 words that just made me feel rooted and grounded. And so whatever I was doing in life, I felt like being happy, healthy, and calm were my 3 things that I had to embody, and I'd had to be, and I'd know I was on the right path if I was those things. Obviously, it'd be great to be all 3 things at the same time, but I just knew that in my life it had to have, that was my affirmation: happy, healthy, calm. So whatever I was choosing in my life, I had to see, right, is it in alignment with me being happy, healthy, and calm? So that would sort of be my blueprint, and that's what affirmations can become. So that's why it's so important choosing ones that are right for you, and not just choosing ones that you think are that you think are going to work, or just ones that you think are what everyone else uses. So I want you to access your higher self. And when I talk about your higher self, it means the trueness and the goodness in you, you know, the pure self that isn't riddled with doubt or isn't overcome with lots of emotions. It's that centered, that grounded self that you know that you have inside of me, and often it is your inner voice. So using affirmations in terms of using powerful language, like since then, and since our chat last time, I thought, Joe, that I need to make my affirmations a bit better now. I feel like I've grown as a person. So my higher self, which I feel like I'm embodying now, I created new affirmations, and my new 3 words are: I'm courageous, abundant, and peaceful. So those are now my blueprints. So whatever I choose to do, I need to remind myself. Like even before coming on this call, I was like, oh, I feel nervous. And I just have to remember myself and remind myself that I'm courageous. You know, I can do it, and I have this evidence that I can do it. Okay. So I want you, I mean, do you guys have affirmations right now, or have you ever used them?
I love them in a way, but I use the ones I've used the most actually are more affirmations, which is what Chloe Slade shared for me. So I'll put like questions around my house. So like one that I realized came true for me from last year was like, why do I attract amazing people into my life? Because obviously I was like new in Bournemouth and stuff like that. So so friends, clients, membership, like everything. So I found they're probably the best, and they're just up around my house. But I do have some work, like magnetic is my word for the past 1.5 years, and that sort of really helped. So
yeah, that is your affirmation, right? That's your mission statement. I am magnetic. And you clearly are, right? Because you've created a life in Bournemouth and you've attracted that, right? So you've really embodied that, because you saying that to yourself is radiating, right? So your energy that you're putting out there through your body, through you embodying the word magnetic, is magnetizing in itself. And that's why it is so important. And when you break it down in that way, it's like, well, you have done it, haven't you? It's like it's happened. That again, that's fact, right? You've made it happen, and that has happened. So let's think about the higher self. So again, we're going to go into state. So closing the eyes. Now this is going to be a bit more of a visualization. So I really want you to maybe go wild with your imagination, but see if you can be more specific with your imagination. So I want you to think about detail down to the very bit, but I will guide you through it. Okay. So we're going to close the eyes again. One hand on your heart. And one on your tummy, on your womb space. And just taking a few deep breaths in and out. And again, just connecting to that space, that trueness, that goodness, that authentic self that you know you have in you. Just keep breathing in and out until you feel connected. Until you feel you're embodying that higher self. And I want you to imagine your higher self. So this could also be the future you. I want you to imagine what she looks like. I want you to imagine she is standing in front of you. I want you to imagine that she's radiating all of your best qualities. All of the things you love about yourself. I'm really breathing into that. Now I want you to imagine her. So really imagine her. She's standing in front of you. And just notice how she's standing. Notice if her shoulders are relaxed. Noticing if her chest is open. Noticing if her face is smiling. Noticing how relaxed and bright and radiant her skin looks. And then let's notice what she's wearing. So this is your future self. So if you were fully confident, fully brave, feeling good, what is she wearing? Even down to the color. What's the fabric like? Noticing what her hair looks like. Noticing if she's got makeup on. Noticing how bright her eyes look. And really breathing into that. So really breathing in. So she's really vibrant. Everything is in HD. Really breathing in and out. So you feel like she is standing right in front of you. And then I want you to ask her, what 3 words or how would she describe herself? What words does she need to remind herself with? What is she embodying already? And as you take your last few deep breaths in, I want you to embody those words and take your time. They don't have to be words. They can just be one word. Just noticing what word is the most powerful, the most authentic, and the one that rings true to you. And the one that you want to embody, that you want to take along on your journey. And the one that you want to remind yourself of. and then one that you know that deep, deep down you truly are. You just need reminding sometimes. Taking a deep breath in and holding the breath. Let's hold it almost like you're feeling it completely in your body. Feel it in your heart. And then a nice soft sigh, exhale. Okay, let's slowly start to open the eyes. Let's come back into the room. How did that feel?
Yeah, that's amazing. I've done something slightly similar once before, and I was just giggling halfway through. I don't know why. I just, I always picture myself in like really like loose, colourful hippie clothes.
Me
And
too.
I was just like, why am I in those clothes again?
Well, isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think you should come to Bali, basically.
Yeah, I'm always in really loose flowing clothes, very hippie-ish. I
Yeah.
wouldn't really wear them, but I'm like, my hair's all curly and flowing, and
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, I look sort of young but older, and I'm like carefree, easy, open. I'm just like, yeah, it's like I'm doing this.
Brilliant. I love that. Now,
Yeah, no, very similar to Joe. It's really funny, that, isn't it?
what was your hair like then, Emma? I feel like hair tells you the most.
It was probably slightly longer than this, but yeah, more wavy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you know what that is, and this is another topic for another day, but that is when you are mostly in your feminine. That is when you are feeling the most soft, carefree, and it's when it is your true essence, right? Because every woman wants to be, right? It's only life, society that shapes us to be like straight, masculine, tough, gotta get shit done. But really, everyone wants to be in flowy dresses and wavy hair and being that free, right? So that's interesting. So that is something that you guys could look into as well. How do you embody, and what's keeping you from being that right now? Why aren't you wearing those dresses? You know, what is it that's stopping you from embodying that feminine, that softness? You know, and then that opens another subject of vulnerability. You know, are we safe to be that soft in this world? You know, can you completely be feminine and still be a business owner and still get stuff done? You know, and that's another conversation that, you know, is really quite interesting about embodying your feminine, which I love, which is when I feel like, and it is so hard to get to, and even me, you know, being in Bali now is when I feel like I'm truly able to embrace that, because all the, being in England and my old job being in corporate, that was so masculine, you know, I was like this all the time. Even though I used to teach yoga, my body was tighter. I'd be in just a strict conformed way, you know, and that's what I was brought up on. Whereas here it's totally different. I haven't brushed my hair for ages, you know, I've been completely free. So yeah, embodying feminine is a big thing. So maybe that is something that, yeah, you could touch on. But other than that, yeah. Yeah, and I, you know, that's the topic that I really, really love, and I think it is really important for women to even just dive into that, you know, just a little bit, to notice, to see what comes up. But yeah, but in terms of your affirmation, what came up, or what word came up from your higher self?
Mine was like beauty, love, like easy, open.
That okay. And Emma, for you?
Mine was joyful, loving, easeful, and abundant.
Yeah. So that's interesting. You both got similar.
Yeah.
So what I would do as well is I would, when you have time, is maybe expand on that and start to get clear on a word and use something, you know, normally in my language, I mean, I don't go around saying I'm abundant, I'm courageous, but giving myself that language is not your everyday language. So try and create a affirmation that feels different. You know, it's not just I am successful, I am strong, I am, you know, like find the beauty in that meaning, you know, the true essence of being joyful. You know, joyful is bliss, you know. Being loving is I am adoring, you know, and just expanding on them and just play around with the language, but not so that it feels completely foreign to you. Okay, you still want it to ring true. So I have a little post-it note on my mirror that says I am courageous, abundant, and peaceful. And it's good to keep, like how you do, Joe, is to keep something where you see it, you know. And it doesn't have to be, like I said, like it can just be a little post-it note, just a reminder, or on your desk. And just, you know, times where you think, oh, I don't feel so great, is a good time to call upon that affirmation, because that's yours. That's what you've given to yourself, and that's what you believe to ring true, you know. And you can make that a fact. And again, I am courageous, you create, and you guarantee you will have evidence for that. I am loving, guarantee you have evidence for that. So again, it's not bullshit, it's facts. It's your facts that you have. And that's another good way to believe the integrity of your affirmations.
When you said like get clear on the words, is that sort of because obviously, and then you also said like affirmations that feel different, so is that sort of like you said, like you don't use like the word abundant in like everyday life, but maybe you could get clear on like what that means to you? That means like abundant in time,
or wealth, or I have enough, you know, bless you. So I don't go around saying I'm abundant, but in my higher self, you know, when I really feel it, like you know, when my limiting beliefs come up, I don't have enough this, or I don't have enough time, I do remind myself that actually you have an abundance of time. It's what I choose to do with it is a question, right? And that's when, again, I am going back to your question of getting clear on the word. So I am loving and I am easygoing, right? So easygoing, you can find, I wouldn't say a better word, but a higher self word for that. You know, your true essence isn't just easygoing, Joe. Like you are, you know, carefree, you know, you are open, you know, you're not just easygoing. And it can be more profound, but get clear on what that really means for you. And let it be powerful, you know, so you feel empowered. And it can be soft at the same time. It doesn't have to be, mine's like courageous, you know, that's a strong masculine side of me. But at the same time, I want to be peaceful. I want to be soft. So it's interesting how you might work with those words as well.
Nice.
Play around with those. So I'm just conscious of time, but we do have to do the body language, because words are great, but words aren't everything, right? And have you got hay fever? I was just thinking that's one thing I don't miss about England.
No, I don't have hay fever actually. I'm just sneezing.
So words will get us only so far, right? But you've heard the expression of, although language is a way of expressing and it's a tool for perception, right? Because language shapes perception and perception shapes language. But if we're really talking about the deep, the great stuff, sometimes words, and you've heard the expression, you know, I don't have the words, or words fail me, right? Because you cannot just, sometimes it's just not enough adjectives in the language to be like, oh, you know, sometimes there's noises come out of you when you're feeling a certain way, and that is a body language, right? That is so, so, so important, because that's, I don't know the exact percentage, but that is pretty much most of it. Because whilst someone may be saying beautiful words and saying like they're open, or saying I'm so kind, I'm so generous, and then they're sitting like this, you're like, no, you're not, you know. And you've probably met people that instantly, just by the way they're standing or the way they're sitting, you might just be like, I'm not going to approach that person. Or someone who's really, you know, uses their hands, their gestures, you can tell a person's mood and their temperament, right, by just the way they're moving and how they're talking. So that brings me to how important it is to stand in your power. Again, power doesn't just mean being strong, but softness and elegance and being rooted in yourself. So posture is a massive thing for me. And I think once I tell you guys, when you go out in the world, you'll be noticing people's postures, because once you've seen it, you can't unsee it, because it's how someone carries themselves, right? It's your whole structure as a being, which is so important. It's how your organs reside in your body, which is really important. I can see you now, Emma, opening up your shoulders. But again, I mean, laptop is the worst, right? We get that tech neck. But what I'm going to do is get you to do a exercise where we're going to notice our posture. Now, how is your posture, you guys, do you think, already?
I think mine's okay. I definitely can slump and stuff.
Yeah.
I think I'm
Yeah.
a little
Is that through yoga though, right? Because it's brought
probably,
awareness to it.
yeah.
What about you, Emma?
I always used to be the tallest out of my friendship group. They were like down here, so I would go down like this to not stand out.
Yeah.
And my shoulders would kind of, and I mean, that's like, I try really hard, but I'm very, very aware of that.
And isn't that interesting though? Because to fit in as the younger self, and I see, you know, you're lucky that you're tall, because I'm the opposite. I'm like a hobbit. I'd love to be taller, you know, but I've noticed, because what you're doing is to fit into that mold. Again, what we do as women is you shrink yourself, right? And then that becomes again the narrative for the rest of your life, because now you're an adult, you don't have to do that, right? So you can stand tall, you can stand strong, right, and tall, and feel empowered with your height. So I'm going to do it is just a simple yoga asana, which is Tadasana, which is mountain pose, but how we stand in that is really interesting. And I'm just going to guide you through a little tweaking and alignment so you are stacked correctly. Now, don't worry if, and this isn't so you feel like you're out of alignment, but it's how you can adjust yourself to be in alignment. And it doesn't mean you have to walk around like that, but it'll just give you a bit more structure and it'll feel different in your body. Okay, so we're going to stand up. I'm going to talk you through it. So don't worry if I can't see you, but you're going to close your eyes, because rather than seeing what your body is doing, we're going to feel. So yeah, feel free to have a little stretch if you need. Okay, so we're going to close the eyes and we're going to and I just want you to stand how you might normally stand. Now don't worry, because I don't need to see you, but don't worry too much. So just close the eyes and stand how you might normally stand. So if you're just going about your day and you're in, I don't know, in the queue for shopping or something, or you're waiting for someone, how would you normally stand? Okay. And just let my voice guide you, and you're going to be working with your awareness. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do is, I forgot to say, if you haven't got, have you got socks on, guys? No socks. Okay, good. So we're going to start with the feet. So take your awareness to your feet, keeping your eyes closed. And just bring your feet so they're shoulder width apart. So not too wide or not too close together. And keeping your awareness with your feet, I want you to think about the weight distribution. So think about how you are distributing the weight between the heel of your foot, the blade, the arch, the mound of your foot, your big toe, and just making it so it's even. And a good way to do that is lifting all your toes off the ground if you can. Lifting your toes and see if you can do a little Mexican wave with your toes. So slowly placing them down one by one. And doing that again, lifting the toes. And really spreading the toes again, doing that Mexican wave. And placing the feet down. So the weight is evenly distributed. And then I want you to think about your ankles. Making sure your ankles, again, without looking, you're just feeling, making sure the ankles are above your feet. So trying not to let your ankles go inwards or rock outwards, just adjusting them. And then I want you to think about your knees. Now, thinking about your knees, how do you actually stand, or what do your knees do? Now, sometimes people are hypermobile, so they lock their knees out. So if you lock your knees out, you're hanging in your joints. So what you want to do is maybe micro bend your knees just a touch. And what that will make you do is engage your quads. So if you are hyperflexible or hypermobile, you might have to do a little bit more work by engaging the quads. But making sure your knees are stacked on top of your ankles. So if they knock inward slightly, see if you can rotate the knees so they're facing forward and above your ankles. And let's bring awareness now to our hips. So keeping your eyes closed, place your right hand just above or below your belly button, below, so go quite low. And then your left hand, hold on to your sacrum. So palm holding on to your sacrum is where, just about where your bum starts, your tailbone. Now, I just want you to rotate the hips inwards and outwards, almost like you're doing a mini thrust. And then I want you to notice how you might naturally stand. So some people stand naturally with their tailbone sticking outward slightly. Some people stand with it, sending it forward, or you might stand with it balanced. Wherever you are, see if you can find a nice happy medium, or it's in the center. So then you might have to engage your core slightly. You might even engage your glutes just a little bit. And then you can relax your hands back down, keep the tailbone exactly where it is. So your palms are facing forward now, biceps are facing forward. Now I want you to think or bring your awareness now to your lower back, thinking about your lower back, and then take your awareness upwards, thinking about your vertebrae, almost taking a deep breath in, almost like you're creating space in between your discs, lifting the body up. Lifting and elongating, creating space. So not crunching in the lower back or the mid back, standing tall. So you're lengthening with your spine, breathing in and out. But when you breathe out, don't let the body collapse. And then we're going to take a deep breath in. As you do, take your shoulders right up to your ears. Inhale right up to your ears, and then exhale, draw them back, down and round. So big round circle. Let's go again. Inhale to your ears, up, back, down and round. And again, inhale up, back, down and round. All right, let's draw the shoulders down. Biceps still facing forward, palms still facing forward. Now, rather than swinging your chest open again, find a happy medium that feels natural. So your heart is open here. Your rib cage is open. Your biceps are semi-engaged here. Thinking about your knees, ankles, hips again, making sure you're stacked. Now bringing awareness now to your neck. Most of us have tech neck, so your neck might be protruding forward. I want you to bring it back. So your neck is in line with the spine. And then let's draw the chin down ever so slightly. Good. Let's take a few deep breaths here. So this is where your body is in alignment. You're stacked. And this is where the prana can move through your body. So in Sanskrit, prana is your life force. It's your energy, your life energy. How does it flow? So when you breathe in, I want you to imagine through the soles of your feet, you're breathing in all of that new energy, bright energy, breathing it all the way up through to the crown of the head, feeling it through your arms, your fingers, exhaling slowly. And when you exhale, I want you to feel the energy travel down your back body, through your legs back into the ground. And then again, breathing in, feel it travel all the way up. And this is a really empowering way to stand. This is your strongest connection with the earth. This is where you're stacked properly. This is where your structure, your skeletal structure is in alignment. Keep breathing in and out. And remember, the soles of your feet, the weight is evenly distributed. Try not to fall back into your natural stance. Good. And from here, we're going to bring our palms to our chest into Anjali Mudra, which is prayer. So your thumb will rest against your sternum. Your elbows are out wide. And keep your shoulders open here. Try not to curl in, but at the same time, relax your shoulders. And maybe just draw the chin down here. And now just use this opportunity to really embody your affirmations that you created for yourself. And don't worry if they're not quite the right words, but just really embody yourself as the higher self. Breathing in and out. And by bringing your hands into Anjali Mudra, you're returning to your heart space. You're connecting back with yourself. You're regaining composure. And you're connecting the right hemisphere with the left hemisphere of your brain. Just taking a few last deep breaths here. And just bowing your head to yourself, to your higher self. And then coming back into the room. Nice, guys. How did that feel?
I feel lighter.
Yay! That's always good to hear. Now, I know it may not be how you normally stand, but that is a really, really good practice of, it's just a little mini empowering, you know, it's just standing tall and being like, I'm good, you know, and it's a good way to bring your palms into prayer. It doesn't actually mean you're praying to anything. It doesn't mean you're giving your power away, but what you're doing is coming back to your center, you know, especially with the thumb against your sternum here. You're bringing your right hemisphere and your left hemisphere together. And it's a great way of just checking yourself and just checking how you're standing. Now, I know structurally everyone's really different, but you can use that time to just switch your alignment, you know, especially the tailbone for women. That's really important. You know, the hips, like I naturally stand with it out and I have to, you know, tell myself to switch it forward slightly, and then I'm engaging my core. By naturally engaging your body, semi-engaging, you feel empowered, you're stronger in your body. And the more stronger you are through the soles of your feet, you notice you're not just flopping, right? You're standing tall. Now, I know you're not going to walk around like this, and you don't have to, but just be aware of the shoulders and the heart is really important, because without opening your heart, you're naturally creating that cave, right? So it's going to go further back, and it doesn't mean you have to be open-hearted to everything and everyone, but being open-hearted is going to make you feel in alignment with yourself. You know, you're not protecting yourself all the time. But do have a look when you go out and about, and just notice people's posture and notice what that says about them, you know. And I think it's a good way, it's just a good communication tool to know how to receive that person and what's going to work well with that person. Because whilst words may say it, a body says a totally different thing, right? And yeah, and I hope that felt good for you, and I hope that felt good to embody your affirmations in the end as well.
Amazing, thank you.
Very welcome, guys. I hope that was beneficial for you both and whoever's going to get the recording.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, people are going to be watching the recordings, so yeah, don't worry about that. So yeah, thank you.
Very welcome, guys.
That was great. I really enjoyed that.
Good. I think it's the main important thing is just remembering you can come back to yourself at any point and check in, and you know, and that's when you drown out the noise. And I always ask myself, really, is that 100% fact? You know, you're creating this you know, you're creating all of this, and often it's like, actually, no, that's really not that true. And I have to bring myself back down, because sometimes it's easier to operate in that space of fear than to actually do the work, right, and show up. So yeah, again, you get to choose which one you choose to move forward with.
Yeah, it's so much the fear, and there's comfort in that discomfort, but it's a false sense of comfort.
Exactly, right? Because you know, really, it's not the truth. And I think as long as you align with the truth and getting into state, and just even halfway through your day is just checking in with yourself and just reminding yourself, I'm good, you know, I'm doing what I can, I am here, I am present. And I think that's super important as well. And your breath is the one thing that always brings you back to the present moment. And even, I know people talk about breath a lot, but just bringing your awareness to your breath is the only thing that makes you now in this moment, because you zap in, right? Because you're with your breath, and something that's so innately human, and you just connecting back to that present moment.
Yeah, I think that is so important. There's so many people who still struggle with that, though, who haven't done a lot of like meditation or mindset work.
Yeah,
they find that,
and it doesn't even need to be like, you know, deep breaths, but just actually, and it's so hard. And I've tried this in the moment of, you know, stuff happening in chaos. Why is it so hard to take 5 deep breaths? I often just get to 3 and I'm like, oh my God, you're distracted. But actually that is the hardest thing. And that is meditation in essence, is bringing yourself back to yourself. And even starting with 3 breaths or 5 breaths, I think is so important, because getting through that journey to get to 5 breaths is a lot of emotions can come up, but it's in the end, you come full circle to yourself. And that's often the thing that we avoid, right? Because no one really wants to sit down with themselves, do we? Because that's where the truth is at. Yeah.
Oh, so good. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed that.
No, thank you for coming and teaching us all about power of language and the body. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll see you guys soon. And thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a nice day, guys. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.